spirit is what we all are. Spirit is this planet. Spirit is all encompassing. So I use the word spirit, but it's the same as what I think people use when they say God or they say the Most High. Hello, and thank you so much for being here. Listen, I wanted to share something today that what I often haven't spoken about, and it's about the things that truly saved my life along the way, honey. The things that kept my edges intact, the things that made me feel in tune with self, the things that made me rise to the occasions of life. I have had a very rough journey along the way, but although very beautiful, and I don't regret any of it. I mean, maybe a couple, but I don't regret any of it. Um, and I just wanted to kind of share some things that I haven't really talked about publicly. And today I want to share about how meditation saved my life and how I ended up meditating and stepping into that world that I ended up in. So, I grew up in the church, but at age 18, spirit, and when I use the word spirit, that's how I use God. To me, God is kind of boxy. It kind of puts God in a box. Spirit is what we all are. Spirit is this planet. Spirit is all encompassing. So I use the word spirit, but it's the same as what I think people use when they say God or they say the Most High. Um, Spirit told me something that shook me. It said, "You will not find what you need here, and it's time to go." I was young, but I listened. I knew I needed to pour into myself in a way that no one around me was doing. I remember looking around the church, and I went to a traditional Baptist church. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, it's people dying outside, AIDS rate, incarceration. I'm thinking about all these things very young. Around the time two of my uncles had been murdered. And I was like, wow, people are out here dying, and we are inside of these four walls in this church praising God when we should be out there saving people or finding solutions to problems in our communities. I was 18 years old thinking that way. And because I was thinking that way, I think that's why Spirit was like, okay, it's time for you to go, because the things that you need to do in the world, you have to heal before you do it. And from the age of 18 and more aggressively when I turned 19, I dove into a lifetime of healing. I dove into spiritual systems. And I knew that if I stayed with what I knew was familiar, I would be stuck in what felt actually broken to me. The church, with not me quite understanding why something felt out of alignment for me without me even understanding what the word alignment meant. So I left, and that leaving cracked me open. Um, I fell into studying different spiritual systems, like I just mentioned, all kinds of paths. I mean, I learned about Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Ifa, Yoruba Dagra, Kemetic spirituality, Taoism. I mean, I was diving in. Even today, I'm learning some new stuff that's ancient, and I'm just like, ugh. It charges me up to try to understand the wisdom, the intellect, the wisdom, and the knowledge and understanding of ancient cultures and ancient systems and people and the indigenous. Oh my God. Like that's what charges me up. It's like that's what I would love to do in my pastime on any given day, right? But Buddhism sort of spoke to me the most. And Buddhism taught me the power of human potential, because Buddha's not a god, never claimed to be a god or any of that. Buddha was like, you have God within you. You have God potential, nirvana potential to really elevate past the pain and trauma of this world. And this is how. So he was like an ultimate spiritual teacher. It showed me how powerful stillness can be, how to observe myself, how to hold myself, and frankly, how to sit my ass down. Okay. It taught me to subdue my ego and not to always need to be right or seen or heard. It gave me the gift of balance and helped me to hold the parts of myself that were angry, broken, emotional, and traumatized. Because the truth is, I was carrying a lot even as a young woman. I had survived attempted rape, I had survived molestation, I had survived abandonment, and other various things. Like I said, family members being murdered, et cetera, et cetera. And meditation became the place where I could put all of that down, you know. And in this unfolding season, I'm remembering that I had this wisdom young. I said in a previous video that I feel like people go through traumas early so that they can wake up early for the rest of the world in one way, shape, or form. And because I had this wisdom young, this deep truth that peace lies inside of us and not on the outside of us, is truly resonant in my spirit. And sometimes our biggest healing doesn't come from seeking something new necessarily. It comes from returning to what we already know. It comes from us going back Sankofa style and retrieving the parts of ourselves. I remember I used to meditate every day for extended periods of time. I remember I used to go to heated yoga, which was my form of my bodily meditation, vinyasa, heated yoga, core power yoga, 3 times a week. I used to go to the Sangha to meditate 3 times a week, where we had walking and sitting meditation. I was so into my work and so aligned, and magic was happening around me. And when my world crashed down, I had built up this shield of tools of spiritual armory, and I was able to keep going. I was scathed. But I imagine if I didn't have all those tools in my tool belt, and if I wasn't on that journey during that time, I would have totally been distraught on a soul level and more traumatized than I was coming out of my divorce. Um, so I'm asking you though, what old truths did you leave behind that are still waiting for you to come home to? You know, like what old truth did you leave behind that are waiting for you to come home to? They're out there. What did you leave behind in your past that if you pick that back up again, you can really fly with that? And I ask that because today I have re dove into meditation again. I have been a meditator for 20 years now, but I had kind of lost my way a little bit until recently when I dove back in it, because I realized as I've been going through the spiritual rites of passage system, we don't necessarily need every single ritual. Ring this bell, light this, do that, say this 10 times. Do. We don't necessarily need all that to open our passageway to the divine. The passage is already open, the path is already lit. We need to step in it. And something as simple as sitting down and meditating and listening to self is sometimes all you need, and is sometimes the best start before you institute any other forms of ritual. So if you're listening to this, this is my invitation to you. Go back. Go back to the practices that rooted you. Go back to the truths that make you feel whole. Go back to treasures inside of you that you have buried while trying to survive in this new world order that we are in. And meditation saved my life because it brought me back to myself, to my breath, to the simplicity of knowing, to my balance, to my becoming. And maybe, just maybe, it could save something inside of you too. We're unfolding, and sometimes the unfolding is a return. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I thank you for being here. And I will see you, and you will hear from me next time.